Provincial Curling Championships here in Peterborough, Ontario at the Peterborough Curling Club. My name's Andy Hine. I'm joined alongside one of my previous athletes I coached in cross country for a couple years, fellow curler himself, Matt.
My name's Matt Holsey. Yeah, I have curled in the past, and yeah, I know Andy quite well from running. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we're getting ready to do some partner commentary today. Two teams matching up this morning. We got the women's on the women's side, the Humber Hawks taking on Confederation College, all the way up from Thunder Bay. So it's the Thunderhawks versus the Hawks. Confederation College is throwing the blue stones, and Humber College will be throwing the yellow stones. This is end number 1 in an 8-end game. Oh, we were watching yesterday we had no live stream up. I'm sure many of you at home would have heard this. A little bit of trouble, just some mechanical compressor issues. So the games have to be moved to a couple different clubs. But amazing team here at the Peterborough Curling Club. Got it back up and working for the rest of the weekend. So very excited to be back up live streaming this morning on our Saturday at the OCAA Provincial Curling Championships. 4-day event. We are on, I believe, to the Vice Stones here. Yeah, so on to the Vice Stones. That's Andrea Shuram from Barwick, Ontario, throwing for Confederation College. We'll see what kind of strategy each of these teams holds on early on.
They're just going to go and split the house here, keep it nice and open.
Yeah, they're looking, they don't have hammer, so Humber College does have hammer here. But if you can force a 1,
sure,
that would be ideal. That went just behind T-line there, so back of the house, possibly looking at a freeze, but no, they're going for the hit. Maybe a hit and roll, come across.
Mm-hmm. Sweepers are on.
Yeah, it looks a little tight. You might get that hit. It's going to connect. But just off nose, rolls slightly to the outside. 12-foot.
Still in play.
Oh, that's good. Even though you don't get that roll,
mm-hmm.
you want to be sticking around.
Yeah,
so that's a successful hit for sure.
If you notice the ice difference here too between both teams throwing the stones, Humber took much less ice and Confederation's right here.
Yeah, that's a good skip, watching, because, you can't just watch your rocks.
Yeah.
You have to watch and be engaged all the time. I want to see where they're putting their ice. I also want to see, if how much handle that individual is throwing, yeah. Right? A couple different variables, but... So it looks like it's just out of the rings, up at the top. So they're throwing another hit, Humber is. That's Parker Doge of Humber College. Connects and rolls to that back biting 4-foot, so sticks around.
sure Confederation would like a nice hit and flop in behind that guard, just above the top 12 foot.
Yeah, you have a chance for a steal here. I mean, it's really open, but I've seen it, already this week in a couple draws. Come up a little short, maybe go a little bit far, and all of a sudden you're stealing what would have been just an open draw for one.
Absolutely, first end of the game, right? Teams probably don't have the ice down to a science just yet. You never know.
Yeah, so sweepers are on it. Close. Looks good. A little bit of late curl. Oh, gonna catch just half of it. Spin out the back. So Humber College will be coming down. Their skip is Caitlyn Jones.
Just looking up at the monitor here, that blue stone that we thought was out of the rings is in fact in the rings. It's biting that top 12 foot.
Ah, yeah, so you got to remove it. Plus, it would have been a nice split opportunity depending on where you are.
Caitlyn Jones, that's not Team Canada Caitlyn Jones, World Juniors, is it? Yeah, it is. That's what I thought.
Okay, I was gonna say I don't recognize her. I don't know.
Two-time world champ? Yeah. That's the one.
So Caitlyn Jones, the skip of Humber College. Now Humber is the top team expected to pick up the gold medal this weekend. But you never know until it's played out.
Absolutely.
And one of the reasons, if you recognize that name, she is a junior world champion.
Two-time world champion, Caitlyn Jones.
So that helps out. Her experience definitely playing at some higher competitions than this.
From what I remember, she was playing with Dalhousie University out in Halifax. But looks like she's transferred here to Humber for this 2020 curling season.
So exciting for them to pick up such a strong player. So straight nose hit here. Probably looking to blank this end. No need to, just take one in the first. Blank the end, move on, and then look for multiple in end number 2.
Yeah.
Looks good. Starting to move, though. Almost looks like a nose hit. Gonna stick around. So, Humber did finish with the 1. Didn't get the roll that they wanted. Just a little too much curl at the end. So, Confederation actually forced them to that 1 point. That's a game changer now. You don't have Hammer coming into the second, where you really want to pick up 2, not just take that 1 point.
Still high fives all around. Good body language, lots of positivity.
Yeah, the positivity is a key aspect in the curling game. You got to stay loose. You got to stay relaxed, calm. Keep that talk up because if you get at each other a little bit, that changes that atmosphere on the ice. And I find it really makes it more challenging for successful shots. So they're just looking for a center guard here. Just going to cross over that center line, but good throw. Looking to get it pretty close.
Looks like Humber's got a good grasp of the ice already, just starting in this second end.
Oh yeah, each team is given a 9-minute warm-up to throw a number of stones, and they get to choose whatever they want. So if they're throwing, hits or draws, what have you. When I did it, I'd do a little mix. So the first two would be hits, so I'd be looking at how it's going to curl off center line and how it's curling towards center line from an outside hit. Once I get through those, that's when you drop back. You want to kind of wear down the pebble quickly before you start practicing your draws, because even in that 9-minute practice, if you do draws at the start, hits at the end, it's going to be a way different draw speed.
And you've got to remember, too, that at the end of the 9-minute warm-up, both teams draw for the button, right, to decide who has hammer.
Yes.
So really smart idea, right? Start with those hits, and then bring the weight down, practice your draw weight, because at the end, you do want hammer, right, after that 9-minute practice.
100%. And they don't do a coin flip here. The coin flip is just to decide who's yellow stones and who is blue stones, and who wants first and second practice. So they do this well before the game time starts, just for that practice time. Obviously, there's a benefit to having the second practice. But now getting grabbed, trying to get it around the top guard here.
They do.
Oh, just edges by, looking for the forefoot. This is a beauty shot, perfectly covered.
Very nice come around.
By Brittany Elson of Humber College. She is the lead. What a beautiful shot. Interesting, Jones gave the same amount of ice for that draw as she did for the guard. She did see how much that guard curled. But then you're looking at basically the weight going, okay, it's a little bit heavier. You're hoping it's getting by, so it worked out well.
Stone by Confederation looks to be running a little bit.
Yeah, found a track.
Maybe pushed outside slightly from the release.
That's Bailey Dobledge. So both of hers go through for Dobledge of White Sand, First Nation, Ontario. So now the second for Humber College, that's Casey Ranson.
We're hoping to get one more in the rings here, I think, for Casey.
Yeah, you're wondering if you wanted to connect. I'd want to sweep this by. You leave it above. Now there's a chance for a double and then roll out. If you catch about a quarter of that rock with some weight, you can probably get rid of both of them. Yeah. So maybe just a communication error. Something like that, it's even better just to sweep it back, have it land back enough where, if they freeze on top, you can still freeze and sit that button, because now you're looking at stealing.
Shrinking that scoring area, right?
Exactly. Looking a little wide here. It's going to catch a piece, trying to get it to curl. Nope.
Flashes right by. Notice just at the end there, the Confederation sweepers tried to directionally sweep that stone to make contact with Humber's rocks, but was just outside enough that it didn't make any contact.
Yeah, that was second Vanessa Wiley from Thunder Bay, Ontario. So a native to Confederation College. This is the fourth stone.
This one looks to be curling hard.
Yeah, a little light. They're just putting up that other guard by Casey Ransom.
Seem content with that throw.
Yeah, now you got to peel. You can get both these guards here.
You can.
It's almost a very similar shot to the ones in the house. So Confederation skip. That's Faith Herbert. She's tightened this ice a little bit, so she gave him a little bit more last time. Not given that same freedom.
Yeah, they make contact right on the center line, it looks like. They can likely get both of these
This
guards
is a
out of the
little
way.
inside.
That's a good result.
Gets both, but sticks around in the center.
Mm-hmm.
No, at the end of the day, I'd still rather my ruck up there than theirs. So
Sure, yes, yeah. You'd always like to run back something of your color instead of the opposition's.
So it looks like Jones is calling a center guard again for Vice.
Mm-hmm.
Parker
Two in the
Doge.
forefoot without hammer, guarded up.
Oh yeah, it's stealing one would be great here.
Sure.
Stealing multiple is even better.
Stone looks light a little bit here.
Yeah, I was going to say this. They're looking just to get this over. It's got a good curl, and it is light.
Looks like it will get over the hog line, but just barely.
Sticks around. So slightly staggered guards here, but that one yellow that's biting that forefoot on the right, that one's definitely almost completely in view. So
Yeah.
looks like you can see about half of it, if not a little bit more. So I'd say throw something a little lighter, like even a heavy draw.
Sure, yeah.
Just
Back
to
line weight, tap it back, right?
exactly, just push it back to that back 12 foot. Because Jones will probably be looking at getting a hit. She doesn't want your rocks in the house. So if you can have a little bit of backing here,
Yeah, yeah.
that might not be a bad thing.
Yeah, you never know what stones can jam, right? In rock sitting in the back of the ring.
Oh, yes, exactly.
This
Starting to
is curling hard,
really
too.
move. Really starting to move. It just dove across, caught a spot. A little bit light, but it just sits right in there, right on top. Two-shot yellow.
I think both teams are noticing that similar pattern on the right-hand side of the sheet coming home. That things start to curl as soon as the weight drops off a little bit.
Yeah, so Jones, she's giving a little bit more ice almost on the outside of that 8 foot, just in from that.
Very experienced skip. Great communication here too between sweepers and the thrower and the skip. Lots of hand gestures, communication.
Oh, yeah.
There on the ice.
Really moving, starting to come across as well. Yeah, you got to have that communication as well, because if you're throwing the stone and you release it maybe differently than you usually do, maybe you give it a little push at the end, you gotta speak up, make that known, because some of these athletes are just timing these stones. Maybe that's a T-line to hog time. So if you're giving a little push at the end, well, the T-line to hog time might be good, but that push is going to give it that little extra.
Sure, yeah.
So in the end, it sits just outside of the 12 foot.
Looks like Confederation will hope to push back that yellow stone sitting outside the 12 foot and get some stones moving around in the house. Their blue seems to be in a good position because if ever that yellow stone outside the ring makes contact with the blue, it's going to stick there.
Yeah, you got a nice little pocket, but flashing by. That was Andrea Shuram Weiss from Barwick, Ontario, for Confederation College. So just flashes. They're not catching a break on the hits this morning. So now Caitlyn Jones steps up for her first stone in the second end in the women's round robin. Day 3. And we will.
Nice release.
It's so smooth.
Very nice release.
That's just, that experience of throwing thousands of rocks. They're really looking just to clog this center up.
Yeah, guarded up. Sitting 2 in the 4 foot without hammer. Lots and lots of stones out front. Making a tough order for the Confederation ring.
Yeah, that's very difficult. You
There
you
might
know
s-
you're going to be drawing here, I believe, as a Confederation skip. You might be hitting if that's blocked up. You may be hitting on your final stone, but honestly, I tried the exact same thing here. Draw around, see if you can catch even just that back
Sure.
button.
Yeah.
You know, you come back button or full forefoot just at the back there. You might be able to get around and be pretty covered
You might.
and be sitting one.
Sure. Use those stones up in front, right?
Yeah. So let's see if they gave enough ice. Definitely the far right side having some really good swing to it. I didn't see it early on.
No, now they haven't played down this side too much. I think all the stones have been played from left to right coming home. This one's going right to
Except
left.
for the very first
You're
guard
right.
throwing, right? It looks a little tight. Really starting to move to that center line. So some nice curl here. They're going to wreck on their top blue guard. Try to spin it open. That'll open up a little lane, though.
It's really important in these games, right, to know where your shot tolerance is, right? How you can miss a shot if you do have to come to that situation.
Yeah, exactly. And to be able to communicate that as well. There are certain cases where you say, you know what? We're doing a draw here, but if it lands a little light, that's all right. I'd take a guard over, having it through. So that room for error is very key. So Caitlyn Jones throwing her final stone without hammer.
Should likely just hope to clog up the middle, blocking entry for Confederation.
Yeah.
Rooms are down.
So just making sure it's there. They'd like it slightly behind that blue guard, just because that would really jam up a run back opportunity.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Great spot.
Well played end from Humber.
So now Faith Herbert, Thunder Bay native,
Lining up a run back.
for Confederation College. Yeah, from where I'm sitting, I mean, that looks to be the only opportunity you have.
The shot is there, but
Yeah.
tough, right?
Yes, yes, definitely challenging. You do have some room here, even if you hit it a little thin. You might see it come across and either connect with your blue or even the higher yellow, and then be redirected into the house. So you don't want to be inside on this one.
No, you're right.
But the room for error is definitely very small. Angle run back. Faith Herbert for Confederation College. Final stone in the second end. They called him on. Off. It's close. Catches that yellow, trying to spin it, doesn't go far enough. So Humber, steal of 2 in the second end, leading now 3-0 after 2. You're tuned in to the OCAA Curling Provincial Championships in Peterborough, Ontario, hosted by the Peterborough Curling Club and Fleming College being the host school, putting on an exceptional show here all weekend. This is a 4-day event. Our varsity coordinator, Jane Boland, did a terrific job reorganizing yesterday. The compressor for the ice had some mechanical issues and froze up. We had a minus 27 yesterday. Did get a little bit cold and just froze up that compressor. So games had to be moved elsewhere. But our staff here was outstanding in really organizing, talking to those coaches, getting that communication out, and they were able to get in their games yesterday. at 2 different clubs. So amazing job. I can't say enough positive things.
Great to see the community involved too, right? And accepting the tournament to be hosted in their facilities, since we had that mechanical issue in Peterborough at their curling club.
Well, yeah, being those other clubs, kind of you're called on the spot too. You don't know what's going on, right? So they were welcoming and able to get those games in there, which was just a wonderful thing to see.
Very nice.
You know, it is such a curling is one of those really big community sports. I find it's just the respect between the teams, the athletes. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing to watch.
It's good to see. We're underway here in the third end of the OCAA Provincial Curling Championships in Peterborough. Humber up 3-0.
Confederation lead, Bailey DeBlech from White Sand First Nation. She is a first-year student at Confederation College, throwing her first stone in 3.
Interesting here, Caitlyn chooses to put her first stone into the rings instead of throwing a guard up.
Yeah, she's going to start playing a little bit more aggressive. She put those guards up only because she was up 1, but now she's got a 3-point cushion here. She's going to play more aggressive. You know, if Confederation plays that hit game, right, she's fine keeping them down to, 1 point at the end. I'm sure she'd have confidence in playing that hit game. The other aspect is, after last end where Confederation missed those couple of hits, maybe that confidence is force them to go for those hits now. So a center guard is thrown by lead Brittany Elson. She's from Mount Albert, Ontario. Yeah, so that Yellowstone is about 3/4 of the way in that top 4 foot. And there's about a 4 to 6 inch gap between the blue and the Yellowstone.
Okay. Stone looks to be a little bit heavy. Skip notices that. Might sail right on by. It does go right through the house.
A little heavy. Having some trouble just finding that weight.
That's something that Humber's picked up a little bit quicker than Confederation.
Yeah, Humber definitely has more experience here. Their second, Casey Ransom, is a 5th-year curler for the team, so she's in her final year. So she's played in a number of, that's 5 provincial championships, a couple national championships. The experience is there. You're used to the environment for sure in a competition like this. So Humber, on paper, has definitely a number of years experience on top of this Confederation.
That goes so far.
I mean, for Confederation, that's a good chance to take in some knowledge a little bit. See how that other, or Caitlyn Jones is calling the game, right? Pay attention to this, because, the worst thing that can happen is you walk away from a game learning something.
Sure.
So. And that's not that. So the second, that's Vanessa Wiley. For Confederation College, throwing the blue stones.
They're liking the way this one's running.
Trying to get it to curl and move at the end. Caitlyn Jones doesn't hesitate, calling a hit.
I think they'd like to roll in behind those guards out front as well.
This, I'm assuming it's going to be something along the lines of control weight. Maybe a little less than that. Trying to get it to curl.
Jams on one of the stones in the back 12 foot.
Yeah. Just by that guard coming in. It's going to be on that top blue. Just comes up short by about 6 inches there. So there's a little bit of space between each of the stones. It goes yellow in the 12, then the blue, and then yellow in that 4 foot, that shot stone for Humber College. And there is that back blue one as well. That's about half in the 12 foot, half in the 8.
And all these stones are covered behind that one lone Humber guard out front.
Yeah. All lined up now. This makes it really tricky. That's Vice Stone, Andrea Sharam, gonna connect and peel away that center guard. Yeah, nice little center guard. Probably not as much curl as they'd like. There's still about half the stone on the far side that you can see, but there's so many of them, it makes it hard to be going down that path.
It's nice to see all 6 sheets in action here at the Peterborough Curling Club at the 2020 OCAA Provincial Curling Championships. Busy morning here at 9 a.m. for draw number 9.
Yeah, all sheets are rocking and rolling. Curl, got a curl. Ooh. Oh, I'm just gonna have a little close-up look. Confederation blue sun in the first one. And then there's one at the back of Humber is in shot stone right now, half in that top 4 foot. Has a thick stone that's full top 12 right now. Coming down that right path is very challenging. After all the stones and the way you would be able to get that full 4 foot, but I don't think you can top half top, but with that blue Confederation, covering up part of the 4 foot. And if you catch any piece of that, half of it, a quarter of it, it's going to run back on your shot stone yellow. So that blue that's just sticking out here on the left side, you either have to hit that nose or barely just like maybe 7/8 of it.
Sure.
You've got to hit it almost right on so it doesn't catch your shot stone. So she's going to be throwing some down weight. I think they called it guard.
Looks like it, yeah. Vice steps outside the rings, out front.
Yes, they were just looking for a kiss on that top.
It's a nice rub.
Yeah. That's a communication. You know where the air is.
Sure.
They got off of it, even though it was tight.
Yep.
They got off because they knew if they get it by that guard, it's over curling. Let it curl, let it touch a little bit, and float back on out.
Yeah, these girls are all on the same page as to what the tolerance is for any missed shots.
So, Humber still sits 1 as Faith Herbert.
This is the widest we've seen any stones. Judging by where the broom is being placed down, they might find some pebbles still out here.
Yeah, I definitely, as the skip, found this one the most challenging. Sometimes when you come down to shoot your stone, you got to go way outside. And of course, some more pebble out there.
Yeah.
You know, it's harder to judge. You don't throw as many rocks on there. It's harder to judge how much it's going to curl, but how heavy you have to throw.
Absolutely.
Ebert. Starting to really move. Sweepers are on it, trying to carry it in.
We've got 3 Confederation stones sitting in the top 8 foot, with a lone Humber yellow stone just in behind.
They only need 1. Humber. They're wondering if they're going to try to hit because Confederation would have a nice little raise there. That shot stone.
There is access from blue onto yellow.
They're seeing. You saw Caitlyn Jones put the flat end of her broom down onto that blue stone. She's just seeing her teammates, or Elson, who was sitting in the hack, how much you can see of that rock. They want to know, what are we looking at from the far end as well?
Do you think they're just guarding it up here?
With that, I would say so. Yeah, she's coming out pretty soft, so I'd be looking at a guard. It is inside, it looks. But Caitlyn Jones has that release where she kind of flicks.
She does.
Yeah. So she comes out inside and then ends up finishing.
Starting to curl hard here. So the sweeper against the curl is sweeping, meaning that they want it to go straight.
It sits really nicely. So Caitlyn Jones, here's her final stone. 1 stone to go in the third end for the Confederation College skip, Faith Hebert, Thunder Bay native. I'd be trying to go down that same path. Your options are really limited here. Or, honestly, you either go for that raise or you just come on the right side and you draw into full 4-foot. Full 4-foot gets you shot
We'll get you shot stone.
And I can, from sitting in the hack, I can see that full 4-foot.
You're right.
So why not take that path? You're going for one anyways. Just have a nice straight draw to the 4-foot on the right side. So instead they're going for that angle raise. And sometimes that is a tough thing. As a skip, you get any tunnel vision, and you know you play one side so often. That's where you're destined to look.
Yep.
Right, and you forget to take a look on that far side.
And that's what teammates are great for too, right? They're going to see some other options that you might not.
Possibly a sweeping error here. They called him off, but they had room. Comes around their top. Oh, just a nudge. That was a close, good weight by Hebert, but
Just had to,
College will take one.
just had to curl up a touch more.
She's holding her own out here to her curling club. So this now is a 4-0 game. Humber leading going into the fourth.
It's tough to go, must be tough to go into the fourth end here, sorry, knowing that you're down 4-0 already.
Yes, yet to score right. You just want to get up on that score, but you know, hanging up a point, get you up there. That is a little confidence booster, and it does feel good. So you know, she can get one out of here.
Yep.
You know, she's looking. It's 4-1. That's not bad. You get one in that fourth. Okay, let's take our time.
Sure.
Meet at that fourth and break and regroup for the second half.
Caitlyn Jones, skip of Humber, again choosing to go into the rings on her lead's first stone.
So Brittany Olsen was top 8-foot for Humber College. They've been great at reading the weight of these rocks. You can see just the communication, the weight judgment as well. A lot of the times when I'd be practicing with our team, we'd want to make a weight judgment call right at the hog line.
Sure.
As soon as they release, we'd practice to make the call whatever we thought that was, and then we'd see how accurate our judgment
Good to practice, yep.
throughout. Because you really want to get confident. Confederation hits. Now Caitlyn Jones calling for a hit.
I think Humber will be happy to keep this house clean in the fourth end. I don't think they have any issues with that.
Oh, none at all. Little outside though. Still going to catch a piece of it from my look, but you want to stick around here. Really starting to move now.
You do want to stick around, right? Then you give Confederation an opportunity to draw and really perfect their draw game.
Beautiful nose hit. Great call and some nice curl at the end.
Communication again, right on point, right? That stone was hanging outside. They let it curl a little bit, directionally swept it to make contact right on the nose and executed perfectly.
That's a good line call as well. You know, one from the start, you know, you're watching it come down, okay, hair outside, but you're able to have that rock still come across hit nose.
This one looks to be a little bit more down weight.
Might not be a bad thing, though, for this Confederation team.
Mm-hmm.
You want rocks in play.
You do want rocks in play. They've got something to come around now as it sits kind of in the 2 position in the free guard zone, midway.
Yeah, a lot of times you'll see most guards in that 2 to 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we're seeing so much curl on this ice here this morning, if the guard is so high up near that 1 area, right, just past the hog line, there's plenty of room for another stone to be curled and wrapped in around behind that guard. But if the guard's a little bit tighter, things are tougher to come around. 100%. But still, far enough out that runbacks and raises can be quite difficult to execute.
So Jones calling them on.
Looks like she'll be taking advantage of this guard thrown up by Confederation.
Yeah, they were looking for a raise there, so Ransom threw
okay.
light and comes up short. You see, it just curled past that blue. Oh, sorry, just past that yellow in, so the blue 12-foot.
Looks like those yellows are slightly staggered, which could be important if Confederation chooses to wrap one in behind.
So I believe Hebert is calling just a tap back here. So this is when you got to make sure that communication is key and the shooter knows the weight that they're supposed to be throwing, because that was a fair bit of ice.
Mm-hmm.
So you're looking at something a little bit more down weight. Oh, wow, it's really starting to move.
It really curls.
That's potentially a lighter handle as well. I didn't quite see 2 rotation for that weight, so a lighter handle is going to curl a lot more than someone who throws, say, 3 to 4 rotations.
And is that what you would say is ideal, 3 or 4 rotations down the sheet?
When I was throwing, I would look for about 2.5 to 3.
Okay.
3 rotations. That's what I would try to be aiming for each time. Now, if you do come across ice that really isn't curling a lot, that's when you look at throwing some lighter handle to allow for sure. Sweepers are on it here. Hit and roll, moves it across.
Very nice shot.
Nice shot for the second Casey Ransom of Humber College. So 1 buried and 1 sitting top 12.
Going back to the rotation that you were talking about, when these athletes make the national curling championships, that will probably be played on an arena surface. Does that change the rotation at all?
It doesn't. I played on a couple, so basically a larger venue events. A lot of times they are at those hockey arenas. So they actually flatten that down that ice, they scrape it, and then they pebble it. For the most part, I have played on some pretty good arena ice.
Good.
Well, this is just going to sneak through. I think second shot.
Looks like it.
But yeah, I from what my experience, I haven't noticed a big difference. I will say I do prefer the curling rink.
Sure.
Over curling the hockey rink. So looking just for a nose hit, trying to get it to curl, moves across that center line, close.
Very nice.
Splits it up a little bit. It ends up being a pretty good shot.
It's a great result.
Yeah, they get some more space in between those 3 yellow. But now the 4th foot is open. So it might have been a little bit better to have some tighter stones there. And Caitlyn Jones now forced to throw that peel because they can only see about half of that, and you don't want to run it past
No.
the yellow. So get rid of that guard. It's not helping you anymore.
The first end, when Humber threw a peel, they had the broom right on the edge of the rock. Now they're giving 2 inches of space or so.
Oh, that is an unlucky peel. So they came across the face of that top guard and actually ran it back onto their 2 yellow stones.
What a turnaround now, looking promising for Confederation. Sitting 2 blues to Humber's 1. Humber is still shot stone. However, can be taken out quite easily, but later on in the end. Right now, Confederation is hoping to draw in behind those stones, staggered stones up front in the top 12 foot. Using that as some coverage that Caitlyn probably won't be able to run back. The stone is looking a little bit light though.
Yeah, light.
Sweepers on this all the way down.
Will not land in the center.
Not a bad error though. Is still covering their blue stone, top 12 foot.
So this late, 2 stones left. It might work out in their favor to have a guard up there. You want to get one. One if they can squeeze out 2. Because you already have that 1 blue in there. That would be a great chance to do so. So Jones just going to hit and roll in behind now. If she can find that spot, that would be buried, sitting probably about 8 foot. You might get that nice little spin back when the rock comes to a halt, and it may catch the 4 foot.
Is it terrible if this rock rolls out of the rings?
Not the worst case scenario.
I would agree.
I mean, I'd want to stick around, but
It is curling hard.
really do.
Rolls. Peaks a little bit outside on the other side of the house.
So just behind key line in the 8 foot. So sitting 1-2 right now. This is an interesting call. Open side, they're going for a hit. They want to reduce. There is a chance that you could get 3, but just based off how the game is going, I would be looking to draw right now to that 4 foot and sit buried. If I believe I'm drawing on my final stone, I'm drawing on my first.
Sure.
If I don't have to clear anything out of the way, of course. But I like having that first draw just to really get the weight down that field, that release. If you can do that on your first one, go for it if you know you're drawing. And they have some guards up. It might not be a bad idea. But
Sweepers on this all the way down. Looks tight right out of her hand. Makes contact with her own blue at the top 12 foot. And peels her own blue out from the house.
tough break for Faith Hebert. Skip of the Confederation College Thunderhawk team.
Caitlyn Jones now on her last in the 4th end. Hoping to sit 3 in the house to really force Confederation to a tough last shot coming home in the 4th end.
I'm going to assume she's drawing into that top 4 foot with the very fighting button. It is starting to curl a lot more here, so teams do have to pay attention to that. You know, it's curling more, make your ice adjustments. The ice continuously changes throughout the game, so you got to be adapting with it. Looks a little light.
It does.
And tight. They wanted to get by that blue stone. It's going to be close here. Can they get it to the rings? If it sneaks by, just barely, but it's going to land a little short. So in that 4 position for guards, it doesn't quite get in the house.
Confederation catches a break here in the 4th end of the OCAA Provincial Curling Championships in Peterborough.
And they're still looking at that hit. See, here's the thing. You come down that right side, it's open. I'd honestly put the broom edge of the 8, maybe even a little bit wider. All you need is full 4 foot, or just biting 4 foot. Anything close to 4 foot, and you got a point here. Throwing a double, I just look at that as being a little unnecessary. You don't necessarily. You're looking to get one. You have no other stones in the house. You don't need to hit here.
Faith Hebert hasn't seen many stones come down on the right side in this end, so maybe that's why they are a bit worried about how this stone will track.
Yeah, and that's when it's so key to watch the other skips throw, right? You just saw how Jones came down on that far side. Look at her eyes, see how much it curled. Use that to help with your judgment. So trying to go for a double here.
Release looked clean, not a lick on this stone. It'll go all on its own.
Gonna hit and roll out.
And that's one more to add to the tally for Humber, leading 5-0 on this.
So Humber College, 5-0 against Confederation College at our OCAA Curling Provincial Championships in Peterborough, Ontario, hosted by the Peterborough Curling Club. I'm Andy Hine.
And I'm Matt Holze, and we'll take a break in this 4th end action.
We'll be back to you soon.
We're back in Peterborough, Ontario for the 2020 OCAA Provincial Curling Championships with the Humber Hawks taking on Confederation College here in fifth end play at the Peterborough Curling Club. Humber again playing yellow stones, Confederation playing the blue stones, with Caitlyn Jones, skip of Humber Hawks, choosing to open the play with a draw to the button here in the fifth end. Both teams had a 5-minute break between the fourth and fifth end of play. Coach is able to get down onto the ice to talk and discuss about some of the things that they maybe could have done better in the first half of play. Despite being down 5-0, the fifth end of play here, the body language from Confederation College still looks to be quite positive. High fives after many of the shots, and lots of smiles out on the ice. We've got lots of stones in play here in fifth end action. We've got 3 guards up front. Caitlyn Jones taking a look at the stones in the house. And maybe choosing to run one back. Welcome back to the Peterborough Curling Club for the 2020 OCAA Provincial Curling Championships. We're down to skip stones in fifth end action here with Caitlyn Jones of the Humber Hawks throwing a bullet down the center line. She makes contact with one of the Confederation stones, but it does stick around back 12. With that hit and roll out, an opportunity opens up for Confederation College to hit and roll in behind a guard up top. This will be Faith Hebert, skip of Confederation College, throwing her first in the fifth end. Looks to be throwing down weight compared to the stone that Caitlyn Jones just threw previously. Which is probably a smart decision. When you're down 5-0, you want to keep as many rocks in play as you can. And the more weight you throw, the higher chance you have, obviously, to roll out after a hit. She gets around the top guard. Gets into the rings, but just about top 8. Just third shot right now to Humber's 2 stones back of the tee line, both 4-foot area. With 1 shot remaining from both skips. Taking a look around at the other sheets in play. Fanshawe beat Fleming this morning, and they are already off the ice. And there are 5 games remaining here at the Peterborough Curling Club, as we see some mixed double action, some women's play and men's play at the 2020 Provincial Curling Championships. The next game that will be live streamed is a mixed doubles game. This will be on sheet 2, and you can catch that action at noon as we get underway. Once this game between Humber and Confederation comes to a close. Caitlyn Jones just threw a draw with great, great weight. Looks as if she's biting the top 4-foot. Making it tough to access the button for Confederation skip Faith Hebert. She's in the hack, doing her typical pre-shot routine, throwing it up weight. Sweepers on all the way down the ice. She makes contact with Humber stone, rolls out. It looks as though Humber steals 1 more in fifth end play. Nice to see high fives from both teams. As we start the sixth end, coming home. Humber Hawks taking their first stone into the house. This is lead Brittany Elson throwing her first. Any guard at this point for Humber is not beneficial for them, as Confederation can go behind it, use it as coverage, and allow them to get some stones into the rings. That's what it looks like Confederation will do, throw up a guard. Skip is asking for a tight guard in that number 3 position, so just outside of the house. Looks like it's slightly higher in a number 2 position. Still useful for Confederation College. Brittany Elson's second stone, hoping to be in front of the tee line. So Confederation College will not be able to use it as backing and something to freeze on. Coming up a little bit light. Throwing a stone even to the Confederation guard that was just thrown previously. Faith Hebert will use that mistake to her advantage as something to come behind. This is lead Bailey Dobledge throwing her second stone. Sits just in front of the tee line, biting the top 4 foot. As Caitlyn races up in front of the house, hoping to peel some of these guards out of the way. She'd love to keep an open house at this point in time. Really doesn't give much ice for these peels, as the broom is right on the edge of the stone, makes contact with it, and peels the guard and the thrown stone out of play. Faith Hebert will take advantage of the lone guard out in front of the house. It is her own color, as they'll try to wrap one in behind that guard and sit 2 here in sixth end play. This is Confederation second, Vanessa Wiley, throwing her first. Starts to slow down pretty quick as it comes close to that guard. Does take a bit of a rub off the guard and sits right on the center line, about 2 feet out from that 12 foot. Humber coach again, rushing out to those guards, hoping to peel them out of play. She points to both stones, hoping to double these off and really, really open up the house for the rest of the end. Lots of weight on this stone, This is second, Casey Ranson, making contact with both Confederation stones, peeling them both out of play and getting her own rock out as well. Well executed peel by Casey Ranson. That really opens things up for both teams. Our Confederation skip, Faith Hebert, hopes to put another guard up into play, blocking her own stone, fighting top forefoot just in front of the tee line. Comes into the rings. And just gets around slightly from that blue stone that was there previously. But they are close in distance, where Caitlyn Jones hopes to double these off as she puts the broom down for third, Parker Doig. I think it's tighter than they want. Parker makes contact with one blue, hits and flops on top of the Confederation stone. At Confederation College sit one here in 6th end play at the 2020 Provincial Curling Championships in Peterborough, Ontario. Andrea Schramm here of Confederation College throwing her first. Broom down, center of the 8-foot on the left-hand side of the sheet, coming home. The stone comes right in. Makes a little bit of contact with that Humber stone. Hits and flops into the open. That 4-foot scoring area quite shrunken down now as 3 stones in the 4-foot. Parker Doig of Humber Hawks makes a great little hit and flop in, biting the button. It's probably a third of the stone or so covered by that Confederation stone just in front of it. Seeing lots of finish late here on this ice, which makes it a fantastic surface for really good shots to be made. And you've got that much play between the hog line and where the rock finishes. Caitlyn Jones here lining up her options. They do have to be careful with 2 Confederation stones in front of the tee line. With a couple of their own stones behind the tee line, they could jam one of Confederation stones on their own rocks. But they do have to be careful of that. Caitlyn Jones chooses to call a timeout here in 6th end play. This is a 90-second timeout. Our time starts when both coaches get down to the ice surface. Our head coach, Sean Turriff, heads down to discuss some options. As the timeout wraps up here on sheet 2, we see the end of play on sheet 1. Mixed doubles game between Humber and Fanshawe, where Humber takes that win. As Caitlyn Jones comes out of the hack with her first in the 6th end. Sweeper's called right off. As she just nudges the Confederation stones and rolls out of the rings. Great opportunity for Confederation skip Faith Hebert to freeze on that Humber Hawk stone in the forefoot. And really shrink that scoring area down, making it tough for Caitlyn Jones to get in there and cause any problems for Confederation College. Faith Hebert taking her time in the hack. No need to rush things at this point in time. Smooth release from Hebert. Sweepers on it right away. Looks to be curling hard. Sweepers trying to get it by that top blue in the 8-foot. Does make contact with their own blue to sit in front of Humber's shot stone. Caitlyn Jones' last shot, making contact with 3 blue stones, getting them all moving and out of the rings. Fantastic shot from Caitlyn Jones, sitting 2 with 1 shot remaining. For Faith Hebert, skip of Confederation College, what a shot by Caitlyn Jones. There is that biter, back 12 foot. So Faith Hebert does in fact face 3 on her last stone. Her broom is placed just outside the 4 foot. She does have some backing to come onto, with that stone sitting just behind the tee line. Sweepers walking with the stone all the way down, choose to get on it now. Starts to curl hard. Weight comes off pretty quick. Manages to get into the 4 foot, but not enough for shot stone. Where we see handshakes here in the 6th end of the 2020 OCAA Provincial Curling Championships in Peterborough, Ontario, at the Peterborough Curling Club, where we see the Humber Hawks win 7-0 after 6 ends of play. My name is Matt Holze. We will see you at noon for our mixed doubles game on sheet 2.